Welcome, everyone. This is Pilot Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at latest LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week, I'm joined by Krister
Hello.
and Sanswinda.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Are you ready for well, I can't say it's a busy week with LOTRO, but it's
Oh,
not exactly a quiet one either.
Perfect. A medium week at the beginning of October sounds great.
Yes. So let's go and have a look at what's in this. And Krista will be happy to know that there are no passion notes for this week.
what? I don't know what to do with myself right now.
I don't know. Is this allowed?
Well, whether it's allowed or not, there are no passion notes for this week. But what we do have though is a video by Scenario, a casual stroll through Adagim, which is the first of the four regions that he will be taking us through as he shows off the new areas. And this one is a continuation of the storyline of the elves of that particular region of the southern area in there and continue along with their storyline. So therefore, as you would expect, this is probably the least arid of the areas. This is the least arid of the areas, but it is, of course, going through some sort of blight, which is, of course, all with their storyline and all that stuff. We'll see more about that, of course, when the update comes, I presume, in theirs. Uh, but I did hear that there were it included some fungus infested spiders in there. So I'm sure that in that area, Sans will like to close her eyes, right?
Definitely. And or
Right.
avoid the area entirely. Sometimes it's worse if you know there are spiders there and you close your eyes than if you just are completely away from spiders and you close your eyes.
Well, I suppose there is that. So next week on Wednesday at 2, he will be going through the next zone, and we'll be going through a zone each of the weeks for the first 4 weeks of October. Then on the last Wednesday of October, he will be doing a run through of the various instances and showing us the instance spaces that we have in there. So here we go. Start of the casual stroll through Adagim. And also, there was a note there that we have started another buried treasure event, which is here until October 5th. So that means if you're listening to this early, then you might be able to get to the event on time because it's through October 5th, which is tomorrow, Sunday, as of this recording. Now, my next little item in here is a rather strange little note in here. Someone had posted a question about Aragorn's swords. Apparently, in Volume 4, Book 6, Chapter 8, on a field of red, in that instance, Aragorn seems to have three different swords that he's in on the instance because he has the one that's in his scabbard. He seems to have at one point one sword in his hand, and another point another sword in his hand. And the question is, all right, what's going on with Aragorn's sword? So I'm going to read Maid of Lions' response to this question here. So the question becomes, it says, "Thank you for reading my whining. Please feel free to go on with your day." To which Maid of Lions responded, "That's why I'm here. That is why we're all here. I'll start at the end before going back to the beginning. I suggested that you bug it, which isn't a guarantee that it'll change, but it'll be helpful as a reminder when it comes time to try and sort this out. Now, back to the beginning." And by the beginning, I mean 2005, so that'd be 20 years ago, when I first started working at LOTRO, 2 years before the release. I'd never worked on a commercial video game before, and some of my favorite times were at the end of the day when most everyone had gone home and some of the senior designers would hold court in the content pit and talk about other games that they had worked on. The Asherton Calls, the Heroes of Might and Magic and Warcraft expansions. Did you know that it was an RTS first? Yes, I know that Warcraft was an RTS first. You know some of their names because some of them are back or still here. Orion, Vastin, but some have gone on to other fields. One of these designers, called him Kath, um, told me during one of these late night sessions that designing for a live service game was very different than designing for a game that you have finished and then that was it. And that not every designer could handle that type of design. The speed was much, much faster because players always needed something to do, and you didn't have the luxury of letting something break bake for months or years as you might in a traditional game. Deadlines were measured often in weeks, and on the Asherton calls, they could be even faster than that. It's not that I disbelieved Keth, but I didn't have the experience in games yet to understand how right he was. But then LOTRO was released, and suddenly we were working to a much more rapid pace. Planning and implementing were sped up, but you got to see the results of your work much faster too. Watching people enjoy your content so soon after development was incredible. And I think that's one of the things that motivates those of us who love working on live service games, despite the stress and the rapid pace. So, what does that have to do with Aragorn's three swords? Because we weren't just inventing our own fantasy world, there were story beats and characters that we needed to represent as we got further and further along the chronology. This meant getting new artwork for Aragorn as he transformed from the ranger haunting the dark corners of the Prancing Pony to a member of the Fellowship of the Ring and then beyond, eventually becoming the King of Gondor. Oh, sorry for that spoiler. The art team
Thanks.
the art team made us a gorgeous new Aragorn with Anduril on his side. He looked great. The problem is that we didn't get a separate version of Anduril that he could hold. It was attached to him by a sheath. Either he had it or he didn't, but he couldn't wield it. Anytime he needed to fight, he'd have to stand in the back looking important, but not actually fighting. And that just wouldn't be Aragorn. The live service clock always moves forward, and we had to do something. So we gave him a different sword. This is this is his working sword, we told ourselves. He'll use it when he doesn't want to risk an injury to Anduril. So now our Aragorn could fight and time moved onward. Eventually, so much time had moved on that that particular sword that he used as his working sword faded from memory. After all, it's not like it was intended to be Anduril. It was just a random sword from the list of dozens, and equipment doesn't always visibly appear in our tools, instead, created at runtime. I'd like it to be fixed because you're right. You look at it and it's a little weird. But I look at it and I see late nights and smells of midnight oil, and I remember Orion talking about the dungeon in Asherton's Calls, where you get eaten and take acid damage inside of a giant creature's stomach. And I remember Vastin talking about creating Warcraft characters that are still active to this day. And I remember Ket saying that there's nothing like the adrenaline of working with a live service game because players will complain, but it comes usually from a place of love. Games of any sort are miracles. Live service games are miracles done on the edge of a cliff at double speed.
In other words, they're done on the back of a war steed ridden by me.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That is exactly it. So you could see all the weird stuff that goes. Anyway, so that was a nice little anecdote from Made of Lions talking about how it came about that Aragorn wound up with 3 swords in that instance in there. So maybe someday they will be able to fix it or something like that. But I suspect that since we're talking about a live service game, very often it's not the highest priority in order to fix something like that. So we'll just have to see.
But it is Aragorn or King Elsar, so it might get sped up a little bit. He is pretty important.
Yeah, well, I guess you always have a point with that.
I wonder if they can analyze other things that have, maybe changed, like Gollum's loincloth. Has that remained consistent throughout every...
You should go and look, Krister, and then bug it if it
I don't want
hasn't.
to.
I don't think anybody else wants to either.
You know what I think about it. Yes. Yes. All right. Now, that's it for the news for this week, but I did hear some notes about what's coming up next week. So this is a little teaser that I expect for next week's show. First off, we're expecting a Bulwer build next week. There will likely be some raid and PvP testing because what they want is that on Wednesday and Thursday, they're hoping to have a large number of people come onto the worlds in there and either run raids or run PvP, run content that's going to require a large number of people to be present. And they want to test out some new tweaks that they're doing for the servers to see if those tweaks are holding up because they want to see, all right, can you cause huge lag on Vor with all these raids going on? I mean, can it handle raids? They want to make sure that this is done before they deploy it out to the main worlds.
Sounds like they need to do surprise Weatherstock.
That was just what I was thinking too.
I suppose holding a huge concert could also be a way of doing. Could you imagine holding a huge concert on Weathertop or some other easy to reach location? Maybe
you don't even have to make it super easy to reach because every character can come in and instantly be level capped.
Well,
I mean, it has to be relatively easy physically to get there, but you don't have to be like level-wise easy to get there.
Well,
and there are lots of maps sold by the map vendor in the Isengard Tavern.
I suppose there is that. I mean, yes. Welcome to the first annual concert here in Umbar Baharbel.
It could be fun.
Yes.
You could hold it in the gut if you want to have it be more interesting.
In the gut. Oh boy. Yeah.
I mean, just so that you can give people something to do, like the watchers who stand and shoot carbine at Weatherstock. Like, you can have some people helping keep things safe in the gut.
All right. Well, I suppose there one other possibility is if you did hold it in bar, Baharbel is in front of the Bloody Eagle. That way, those players who don't want to level cap their character can still get there since the Bloody Eagle
Oh,
uses
yeah.
at level 20.
That'd be a good idea. And if you got a whole bunch of rune keepers there to like throw down rune stones and stuff, you could probably lag it out.
Bring your pets. Get on your mount.
Wear your cloaks.
That's right. Wear your clothes.
Really? Do all
Bring
the
your
things
fireworks.
Fly.
Do all the things you're not supposed to do at Weatherstock. Just to see what happens.
Yes.
You know, and if PvP testing is a thing, we could have a concert in the middle of the moors too. Really?
A concert in the middle of the moors. Yes. Then the creeps come and try to crash the party.
Well, clearly.
No, it'd just be that the fields of
They would
Grand
be
or whatever
so-
they are, or the mosh pit.
Overtaken by the joy of the party, they might have to eat some snacks. But, you know, it gives us something to do to test the servers.
I suppose.
We could just go from keep to keep playing it during a concert just to see what happens.
we could.
We need an army of
Keep caroling.
concert goers. Yes. Caroling on the moors to test the server for them.
Caroling on the moors. I could just imagine a full orchestra of Kells bells. Yes.
Oh no! Oh my goodness!
With rune keepers and lore masters, and maybe some burglars for protection.
I get tortured on a regular basis by the kinmates employ with trumpets. So thinking of massive amounts of people just bringing trumpets to their lips fills me with a cosmic dread.
You could be one of them, Krister, filling the enemy ranks with dread.
I am anti-Trump. Anti-trumpet.
Fair enough. I feel like one of those would probably be on the creep side, and the other one would be in the hands of the freaks.
Okay, so let's then head out to the next bit of news for next week. They are expecting next week for there to be update 45.6, where they expect to have the new rewards for Harvest Math as well as some instance fixes. Because remember last week we talked about a couple of instances where things weren't quite working as they were expected. Like, I got the impression that some people were falling out of the tub or something like that, and for one of the problems they were had, which is why the inner sanctum was closed. So they expect next week to have that fixed so that they could reopen those instances next week. And also, because I did say that one of the things that they're putting in there were new rewards for Harvest Math, that means that Harvest Math will start next Thursday, assuming they get those new rewards in on time. And they'll have several new rewards, but it will not have any significant changes to Harvest Math, just a rewards update. And finally, they think that there's a good chance that next Wednesday, they will be ready to open up the Dark Worlds. I guess we'll find out in next week's episode whether or not they succeeded in that little matter. So if you've been wondering, when will the worlds open up so that the Dark Worlds open up so that you can transfer those characters that are currently stuck there, then they expect that it could be as early as next week. And if things don't go so well, it might be another week after that. And that's it for our upcoming news for next week. So we'll see how close next week's news is actually to that. And of course, next week there will be some release notes read. So with
Assuming that there's an actual release.
assuming that we do have, in fact, there might be 2 sets of patch notes if that Borer build comes out.
The bull horror ones could be skimmed for the first bull horror build, probably.
Yeah, most likely we get away with skimming those. I mean, it's probably just going to be some landscape plus the
Maybe
plus
some
the
highlights
updates
like
to test.
caroling keeps and concert outside the
All right.
eagle.
All right. All right.
Bloody
We
eagle.
will go wassailing through the wars.
Yes.
All right.
You heard it here first, folks.
Now, let's now go and look at what's on sale this week. Sans, what's in the store this week on sale?
Well, this week, you can still purchase the Kingdoms of Harad in a pre-purchase expansion. And you can make your piece of Middle Earth shine with 20% off select housing decorations, select housing sets, select cloaks through October 9th. And your weekly coupon will give you free combat run speed boost times 5 with the coupon code EVERONWARD. EVERONWARD. Also through October 9th.
Thank you. So that means that it is time for our weekend gaming. Krister, what were you up to?
Well, I did actually have a question to pose to you guys.
Ooh.
This was the thing that I snuck on and then updated the wrong document with.
So that's why I didn't see it.
Exactly. So, have you written any bios for your characters in LOTRO? And if so, would you read your favorite one? And so I was thinking maybe this isn't something we do this week, but if you guys could get your favorite bios, if you've written them, and read them at the next episode.
I don't know that I've written a bio for any of my characters, Krister.
I have a feeling that bio writing is incredibly rare and that it really only happened at the beginning or in the first, the first 10 years of LOTRO. I can't even believe I could say that. The first decade of LOTRO. But I would think...
You know what we should do?
These days.
We should throw this one to all of our listeners, too, and see if they've written any bios and have any favorites from their bios. Because that would be fun.
I agree. Yeah, I would really like that. It's fun when it's fun when somebody just, is inspecting you and they actually find you have a bio and they're totally shocked by it. I've had that happen a few times. Whoa, I actually know something about you.
Right?
All right,
Can we do that, Pine Leaf? Can we ask listeners to write in and answer about their bios and if they have a favorite one? And then in, say, 2 weeks, we can share them?
Okay, I guess that's a possibility. I am just...
If people write in. If not, we can...
I had a blog that I kept way, way, way back when.
Well, we know that you're not very comfortable with this because every single thing that you've written, I've read your bios, and the only thing it says is Pine Leaf, let's see, no work and no play makes Pine Leaf a sad boy.
Wow, Pine Leaf. You're saying, though, you had a blog.
Yeah, I had a blog that I'd done way back when. This is in 2010, it looks like, based on, like posted on May 30th, 2010, Spear and Skirmish introduction. So this was the beginning of the blog in there. And it, as you can imagine, this was skirmish oriented. And what I did is I talked, at first I started out just by talking about skirmishes in general, but then I brought in Pineleaf as a character in going through all of this. So even though I'm a bit of a narrator here, and let's so even though I'm acting as a narrator all through here, and of course this is a long ago since I've looked at this blog in here, and so I can see that photo bucket has a watermark on every single one of my photos in here
Oh wow, yeah.
because they're saying protect your memories for less stuff like this. So putting ads inside of all the pictures in there because I haven't looked at this blog in at least 10 years. So.
Wow.
But
I think it's insane when you said 2005 earlier. You just think about this. This thing has been around for 2 decades. It is crazy to think about it. So
yeah,
and we're still a part of it.
Yeah. But anyway, so in here I'm talking about skirmish, and I treat my various characters as figures within there. So they're all related to each other. So we have Pineleaf, and so I don't exactly go into an origin story for Pineleaf on this or to a full bio, but you do get a during this, I guess, year or so where I was doing this blog, where you do get familiar with with most of my characters because of this. So, because I have episodes in there, of course, mostly with my Warrens, but I also have a few with Piney's brother, who's the burglar, and I think there are a couple others that are in there every once in a while that show up in there. It looks like it ran for about 6 months or something like that. I think after that time is about when I started writing my skirmish guides, and so I didn't have as much time in order to write the blog. And it could be that the blog that the blog tools I think might have run down, and the blogging community started,
Right.
Having this effort on it because it was no longer being supported by, well, I guess back then, Turbine. So that's the closest
Turbine
thing.
have their own. Okay.
That's the closest thing I had to a bio to it.
Yeah, it's funny. I've just had several people express shock that I even have a backstory for my characters. It's like, don't you? I mean, I usually have some kind of rough brushstroke of the characters, but
well, yeah, I've always thought of Pineleaf as coming from Bree. Is one of the elements that I have, and then later moved to the Shire. And the reason why I think of Pineleaf as coming from Bree is because it sounds like a Bree-ish name. Because in the Shire, you tend to have names after gems or after flowers, or or these fancy names, fancy aristocratic names. Those are the types that you usually have in the Shire. And while those exist in Bree, in the chapter on the Prancing Pony, they mentioned that some of them have Bree-ish names, which are named after plants and the like. And Pineleaf is, if there's anything, is very definitely falls into the plant category, which very sounds like to me like a Bree-ish name rather than a Shire name. So I'm assuming that Pineleaf or Pineleaf's parents came from Bree, and that's how things worked out. So that's sort of like my background story in there. I didn't go too deep into that, though, of course, I might make references every once in a while about things inside of the blog.
that's really cool, frankly. When did you starting to do the show actually change things as well in terms of your recording stuff? Or
Well, this was, I think what happened is that about 6 months into this is about the time I might have started doing stuff for Casual Stroll to Mordor. And so working for Casual Stroll to Mordor, there was less time for blogging. I have a feeling there was something like that.
Makes sense.
And then, of course, around that time would have been the Academy. Would have been. I just can't remember though whether that was that year or because that was 2010. I was saying, and yeah, I'm not too sure whether exactly where that timeline was or anything like this because it was obviously after Mirkwood where this was happening. Since we're talking about skirmishes all the way through, since skirmishes are the theme of the whole thing, and these did evolve eventually into the skirmish guides.
Okay.
And that's probably
which were super useful. Thank you.
All right. Anyway.
Yeah. So back to my week. I did some much needed. I got Christopher was having an LI conflict. I got that worked out. I got some inventory cleanup. I got my carry-all sorted. I was very tempted to Valar Feeney, my Hobbit healer, up to 150, but I resisted temptation and valored my lore master instead. But I was just thinking about when I valored him too, because I was in the Bree craft hall when I did that. And so somebody was standing right next to me goes, "Grats." And I was like, "Oh, thanks. I'm just going to have to hide when my horse levels so nobody sees it." I don't think they got what I was saying, but you know how I feel.
I still think it's funny that you think it's like horrible for your horse to level up.
No, it's not horrible. It's what the equivalent for me says is you're in polite company, you're at a dinner, tea's been served, you're all sitting around chatting, and then you just let out the most large, unexpected fart you possibly can. And it's like everybody's like, "Oh, well." So it's not that it's like awful. It's just like embarrassing. It's just like, oh my god. It doesn't matter that they see 150. They all know that I'm a fake.
That's where it comes from. It's not like that the horse is leveling up. It's that you expect the horse to have leveled up before you reach this level.
Exactly. Yeah, because if you reached 150 organically, you'd never see a horse leveling at 150 because your horse would have leveled a long time ago.
So what you're saying, Krister, is that
you're like, oh, well, what leveling were you yesterday?
You want to go back to Rohan and start going through there and hope nobody else is around. Idea.
Because nobody's out there anymore. So then people wouldn't be seeing your horse leveling.
Right. Get your horse leveled up relatively quickly. Or, go into the herbalist place. Like where you can do all those repeatables for the herbalists.
They should sell a supplemental horse speller.
That would be great.
So
for those of you who are embarrassed by being found out to have used a Valar, here is a Valar for your horse that you can purchase for the low cost of
embarrassing social situation.
Yeah, $29.99.
Yeah, so that was great. I felt like I got a lot of good work done and cleanup that I needed to do. And then the idea behind the lore master is, well, in fact, this is a good question to ask you guys because I really haven't been paying attention to this. Are the warding and battle scrolls still the what were they, the 130 ones? Or are there better ones out there now?
Well, there are 150 ones.
Okay, that's what I thought. So yeah, I'm just basically getting myself prepped to pump out a bunch of 150 support stuff because I used to be a raider that had all my raiding stuff with me, all of my potions, everything, and I'm realizing how well I have it all. It just doesn't work anymore because it's so low level. So I need new sets of everything.
Isn't that kind of frustrating when you realize that?
Yes, especially for like like the droughts, the things that remove your debuffs. It's just so frustrating that because you like hit
I know.
it and you're like, oh
I'm
wait,
using
it
this.
didn't
I'm
do
using this.
anything.
Oh,
It didn't do
really?
anything because it's too low level.
Those ones are easy to get new ones of though, because you can go to the healer.
That's true.
But like some of the other ones are not easy to get new ones of.
Yeah, so other than my time in Lotro, I played some ESO, played some Age of Wonders, played some No Man's Sky, and I've been having a particular problem with Borderlands, but I think I've finally worked through that. I played it too much. And then Helldivers 2, I was playing that again, and I just have to say, out of all the games that I play, Enshrouded might be another one that's graphically just an incredibly beautiful, beautiful game. Helldivers is an incredibly beautiful game. The if you took away all the fighting and dying and explosions, the environments, the planetscapes, the way the weather works, the way that the terrain deformation works, it is just a really nice looking game. So anyway, spent some time with that, and so that was my week. It was a graphical cavalcade. Sans, how about you?
Well, my week didn't actually include a lot of gaming because real life, but I did get my Monday Night Lore Master ready to go to Hearn, mostly. Quest wise, it says go to Hearn. Level wise, I was told that I should level up at least 2 more levels, maybe 3. I think
What
it's 2
level
more
are
levels
you?
now. I think 16.
You might could use a level or 2 more. Let's see, because the group did all the stone, all of the quests at that encampment near Tharbad.
Makes sense. I logged out at that encampment near Tharbad. Yeah, so I was like, oh, cool. The quests are starting to look important. And then Sanders was like, and they said level up to 18 by whatever means necessary, or something to that effect. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm almost ready to go to Hearn, but
Okay.
I could fake being ready. So we'll
Fake
see.
Hearn?
Okay.
And I started a new Stardew Valley farm and played like 3 days of it. So that was pretty much my week in gaming.
What type of farm?
I decided to try a forest farm.
Oh, the forest farm. Okay.
Yeah. So
Like the
I
forageables.
spent most of the 3 days trying to clear off enough room to actually figure out what the farm looks like.
That sounds like the forest farm.
Hopefully, did you get a lot of resources as a result of that, or?
I did, and I was able to make like 5 chests to store them in, and then realized that I should have probably spent some of that wood on the bridge down at the beach.
Oh,
But you know, it's only like 3 days into the game; it'll be fine.
It's not like a disaster or anything like that.
Right. So that was pretty much my week. How was your week, Pineleaf?
All right, I'll begin with my Guardian, where I decided to join Ploy's group on their Friday night group, where at 8:00, and I was hoping to get some practice in there. I was trying to think what character I decided to bring my Guardian because they didn't have a tank there, so I wanted to. I'm hoping that they would give me a little chance in order to learn to tank, sort of Guardian tanking first attempt or something like that, because I had done maybe a little tanking at a lower level band, but this was my first attempt at tanking at the top level. So I said, okay, let's now go and do a delving with tier 7. That should be a nice place to start. So we ran Thatter, tier 7, or I should say not tier. I try to think, or delving 7, I guess is the best way to say it, or something, because tier 7 is obviously tier means something else, and there is no such thing as tier 7. Okay, anyway, delving 7. So we went into there, ran delving 7 in there, and things went reasonably well, I think. I think there were a couple of times where someone decided that it would be a good idea if they ran up ahead of the tank and gathered all the monsters together, and
It's very polite.
and that had predictable results. But when we managed to get ourselves together and to act as a coordinated team, we managed to get through the instance twice. Now, the second time we had only 5 in there when we went into there, and in that case, the only problem that we had was mustering enough DPS in order to kill all those Nimrafen. And strangely enough, the Nimrafen were killed so smoothly the first time around. Someone asked, "I wonder if anyone's ever failed to kill the Nimrafen the first time through." And then our second time through that instance, he got his answer.
Though, to be fair, we've had some times on the field trip where we haven't killed them fast enough.
Yeah. So we did have a little trouble there, probably because the fact that we had only 5 that time instead of 6 meant it was a bit tougher to gather them all and to kill them fast enough. So yes. But we did get through the rest of the instance without any trouble really whatsoever. I think we might have had 1 death or something like that. So a nice reasonable thing on it. Now, I did take that guardian into Friday night fights after that, and I wasn't tanking spec during the first half of that, but we had a warden there who really likes a tank in there, so we had double tanks at the beginning of it, which actually turned out to be fortunate because our warden had internet troubles when we were going through the second skirmish in there that we were doing. The warden had internet troubles, and as a result of this, it was good that I was in tanking spec because we didn't have a tank there. We did have a case where we had a couple people die, mainly because something went. Well, we didn't realize that the warden wasn't there, so I was.
Oops.
So I was treating myself as an off tank by this point, and it turned out that no, they actually needed to be as a main tank there because we had a warden who we thought was there but wasn't there. So it was a bit of a problem there. What happened though is the warden first lost connection to Discord, then lost connection to LOTRO. So we really weren't exactly having good communication with the warden as it was anyway. After that instance, and after the warden was back on and properly connected and all that stuff, I decided to finish off in DPS stance. So feeling that when we did attack at dawn, it would be better to have a little bit more damage being put out. So that worked out. But anyway, it was my first experience at level cap tanking on a guardian. As for my mariner defeated some orcs in the Wassailing without the permission of the king. And I started a new Minecraft world where I essentially was spending some time getting copper to make some tools and testing out the copper tools and the armor in there. I did get a chance to test out the armor with a couple of illagers that came by, and I suspect that after the show I'll be doing a little bit more, and there may be some exploration in there to see how well the copper tools hold up relative to either the stone or the iron ones. And that concludes my week in gaming. We currently have 11 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, you can go to the nation's page where you can support the players on Patreon. Your money will be used for our podcast hosting, website hosting, and for and to pay for our live shows. And a special shout out to Or Gaming Networks for their support. And if you would like to support us, you could either sign up on the Patreon or you could contact Drac at LOTROplayers.com. If you have any feedback that you would like to give us, you could send feedback to us at podcast@LOTROplayers.com. The Players Alliance has 2 shows on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We record LOTRO Players News and we record DDO Players News when Drac is available. You guys choice for our shows at LOTROplayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight then. This is Palif Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.